Alright, so you will be learning how to create basic terrain and kind of place a road on top of it and to be ready to be imported in GTA5. So first go enable some plugins that you may not have on. One of them is going to be ANT landscape. So check the box, enable it. And the other one is called uh, where is it? BS. B surface. Uh, so enable that. Restart Blender after you enable both of them, and then you should see a tab in here that says create. Click on it and click on landscape. If you do not see this area, press N on the keyboard. Should show up. So click on that, and we will be adding the properties for the landscape. Let's call it terrain, and we will be adding the properties for it. First off, we're gonna be changing the subdivisions from 128 to, let's see, 400. That's for the X, and then for the Y is gonna be 400. Mesh size is gonna be 2000. That's 2 kilometers. 2000. Right, and click on generate. I'm gonna fucking generate or what? Like that. Then we switch the noise type to double multifractal, and noise base we're gonna change it to new Perlin, and then refresh. Wait a second for it, and then we'll change the noise size to 80, depth to 6, and the height to 300, and maximum to 1200, 1200, and then click refresh. We should see a lot of spiky things in here. Let's see, 280. Good. Now this is a good looking terrain. Now one other option that you have to enable, because it's going to be a whole lot easier for you to see what's going on. So go to this area and enable cavity if it's not already turned on. You have to use the same settings. Because we're not going to be texturing this stuff, we only going to be creating it, slicing it, and manipulate the vertex colors and create a road. We're not going to be spawning in game any of that stuff. You are learning the basic shit. All right. Now let's. If you're unhappy with the way it looks, just add and make it 300. It's going to be even bigger, like that. One thing you have to look for, just be aware of the fact that you're gonna have to build roads. If the terrain looks too jaggedy, too hard to, I mean, not realistic as in how humans will build a road, just turn it down a little bit from 200. Let's say 150, right? If it looks too as being too much, right? Just make it realistic as much as you can. The Blender is not all that good about realism. I mean, the settings that you have available is quite a bit, but it's still not going to look like a realistic terrain. You have to put whole lot more effort into making it realistic. All right, now we have that. We have the terrain. If you have a full-size keyboard, press number 5 on the keyboard. That will switch you to orthographic. The way to know you switched to orthographic is hold Alt, and if you enable if you have the options to show text info and statistics, it will tell you your orthographic 180. It's very important to do that because we're gonna be drawing the roads, and you need to look at it from the top. So press T on the keyboard to display the toolbar in here, and then select annotate. From placement, select surface, and I don't know, maybe you want to increase the radius and the factor so you don't have a hard time seeing what you're doing. All right, let's draw the road. You don't have to be very precise. Just go with it. If you're unhappy, press Ctrl Z, undo, and start over. All right. One other option that you have, annotate eraser, right? And zoom in the area where you think you made mistakes, and erase part of what you've done. That's good enough. This is going to be the road, and go to edit and click on annotation to curves. You can now hide. Let's rename this to road, because I'm going to be saying road and terrain quite a bit, and it's good to see actually I'm talking about in the items in the list in here. So let's hide the terrain. Hold shift and click the eye, and if you look at what you've done in 3D dimension, you will see that your drawing of the road, it's actually followed the curvature of the terrain. All right, let's extrude this and turn it into some sort of tunnel to have a better visual indication of what's going on. But before that, we do that, enter edit mode, go to control points and select smooth, and hold shift and press R. Hold R. So actually you have to press A to select all the vertices, and then go to control points and smooth, and then hold shift and press R. So we try to smooth the sharpness of the what we've done in here to make it a little nicer. So press shift, hold shift and press R. It will continue to smooth the but don't go overboard the edges a little bit. Exit out of edit mode, and let's extrude this one, turn it into some sort of tube. Go to data and expand the geometry. Position yourself in a way and you can see what's supposed to be the road, and extrude 10, and the depth zero. I'll put number 4. So we got some sort of tube going on in here. Scale this down a little bit. I think 10 is good. 10 is a good. Think about how wide a vehicle is, right? About 2.5 meters. And if we have two lines, one line in each direction, and the line is about one, two vehicles wide, I think 10 meters will do. You know what? Let's import a vehicle in from game, and actually give you a very good sense of how much you should extrude. I think I should do active and vertex, and rotate it on Z. So that's pretty much was what I was looking for. To extrude, to make it as wide as four vehicles. If we have two lines, one for each direction. So this is pretty much what I was looking for. We know exactly how wide the more or less how wide is it gonna be. Um, let's hide the vehicle. We don't need that for now. Unhide the road, the terrain, and we're gonna be carving the terrain using the road that we just drew. So select the road, right click on it. Actually, we can do it in a 3D view. Convert to mesh. Save your stuff. And we need to create vertex color for both the road and the terrain. So let's do that. We go to vertex groups, enter edit mode with the road selected, press number 1 and press A to select all the vertices, and then on the vertex group click the plus button and double click the name it road underscore V, and click assign. Get out of edit mode, select the terrain, enter edit mode, press A to select all the vertices. Make sure you're in vertex mode, press number 1, A, and then click on the plus button. Pretty much the same methodology like we use for the road. After doing that, so name it terrain underscore V, and click assign button. Save and exit out of edit mode. Press tab or click the menu. We now have vertices for both pieces of geometry. And select the terrain. Go to modifiers. Add modifier. Search for vertex weight proximity, and then add another one that says displace. Again, displace needs to be at the bottom and proximity needs to be at the top. Make sure you have the terrain selected. It's very important that you add those modifiers on the terrain. Now go to vertex group, select the terrain, target object, search for road, then on the object select geometry, then select faces, and on the highest put number 10, normalize weights, expand fall off and select sphere, and the mask set on the terrain. Now for the displacement modifier, I think we should leave this one, and the normal we change it to Z. We only want to displace up and down. We do not want to displace lateral. And I think we can do so select put on the vertex group, select the terrain, and let's hide the road because we don't need to look at it. We will have a better understanding of what's going on without looking at that. So you probably already see if you zoom out, it's kind of displaced. You can see the road kind of into the terrain. So let's increase this one. We need to play with the values a little bit. Every time I do it, it looks kind of different depending on the uh, on the subdivision. So it's also depending on many other factors. So just because it's going to work for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You have to play with those values a little bit to find the right spot, the sweet spot where the terrain is going to look like it has a road carved into it. So play with the values. I'm kind of happy with the way it is right now. It's not carved too deep and it's fairly wide. Mm, yeah, roads are not perfectly smooth like a landing area. So it's good to have a little bit of bumpy look to it. If you want to change some of the parameters even more, you play with the fall off. It's going to give a different look, different. Like so, I'm happy with this. It's a bit wider than I want it to be. If I enable the vehicle again and I go to it, you will see it's quite a bit wider than I want it to be. But again, the road is not always exactly the same width. Uh, so it's wide. It's quite wide. So let's go back to terrain and narrow it. Try to narrow it a little bit. That's a little better. We still have space around to create barriers if you want to, or cut intersections and all that stuff. I think this is decent. And apply. Let's apply everything. And let's talk about the geometry density for a second because this is very important and this is the place where you will have a lot of issues with if you do not do it right. If you look at the triangles, it says 370,000. That's unacceptable by any standards on how dense a piece of geometry should be. You probably ask, but what's the right number? The right numbers, uh, or depending on how big the terrain is, and we can play with these values a little bit, as in You see the flat areas in here, and there's a lot of stuff that does not need to be as dense as it is right now, because it has no bumps, has no curvature, has nothing. It's just like completely flat. So we're gonna be decimating this area that doesn't need to be as dense. So pretty much the same technique, but instead of displacing, we will be decimating according to where the road is, because we want to keep details on where the road is. So let's do that. Select the terrain, add modifier, search, and add vertex, wait for proximity, terrain, road, object, select geometry, select face, highest, put 10, normalize weight, fall off, go to sphere, influence, select terrain, and then we're going to be adding decimate. And I think a better way of looking at this is going to be on what is it called? Viewport shading. All right. So we're going to be cleaning up this thing a little bit. On the ratio, put 0.3 per center. Your blender is going to lag a little bit depending on how much, what's the subdivision count in here. And let's play with these values a little bit. All right. I forgot to specify the vertex group needs to be the terrain. So as you can see, whatever's not so close to the road is getting decimated more. Whatever's closer, the geometry it's quite a bit denser. And we can continue to play with this value, with these values until we kind of get somewhere reasonable. But also kills in here. So yeah, don't draw your roads too close to the edge of the whatever's supposed to be the terrain. You may get this kind of stuff. So from 0.3 we can put 0.1. That will reduce the poly count, the triangle count even more. Let's go to cavity. Like so. Looks off, but that's normal. We went overboard a little bit. Probably we should leave it at 0.3. Alright, you can still see the road. We happy with what we've done. Next thing, you may want to apply. And I'm gonna be showing you how to add details to add extra stuff before you slice it. You have to do that before you slice your world or your map or whatever you want to call it, the terrain, your racing track or whatever you want to do it between the mountains. And go to object mode, scope mode, and search for look for the smooth right here. But we go in first to edit. What is the tool? Is it in tools? So we need to expand dynamic topology and enable it, and from detail size change it from 12 to, let's say, 20. We don't want to overdo it. And if you want, right now we're smoothing, we need to add stuff, right? Let's see which tool it gives us, because not all of them will make our mesh gain detail. Inflate, maybe it. No. Why am I struggling with this right now? But yeah, you can add details that way, or flatten it, or do whatever you want to do with it. So if you want to create uh, arches and all that stuff, that's how you do it. I gotta find that stuff right now because it's bothering me. Why is it not working when I want it to? It pisses me off that I have to constantly subdivide edges. What the fuck? It's not working. Subdivide edges. You fucking kidding me right now? Dude. I cannot make this shit work, man. Alright, so the detail, I was too scared to turn it to create more detail. So what I was trying to do was actually remove detail, although it was turned on. So make sure you have the detail size properly adjusted so you can create the details that you need. That will add that will add to the poly count. So just keep an eye on that. So we have 97,000. If you want to sculpt some details on this mountain here. Oh, fuck off, Blender. Just let me click it. Stop warning him about shit. And we are now at 106,000. So be aware of that. The moment you start manually adding detail to your stuff, you will also increasing the mesh size. So let's say you added everything that you needed to add. I'm just gonna undo this stuff in here until we get back to 97,000. And we done sculpting. Let's say you're happy. and I'm going to be showing how to slice the terrain in multiple pieces so you can actually import it in game, because the limit is 32,000 per mesh, and this is relatively small mesh. It's just 2 kilometers. If you want to make like a big mesh like 20 kilometers or something like that, there is no way around. Doesn't matter how much you decimate it, unless you turn everything into S-load 3. There is no way in the world you will have enough. You will have too much detail. It doesn't matter how you put it if you have a 20-kilometer piece of mesh. So let's slice this bit in 4 pieces. And why the fuck it went back to? Oh, that's the vehicle. It's not the terrain. In pieces, so you know exactly how to separate every single piece and be able to export it for GTA 5. Go to Object and then to Add Mesh Cube. Snap it to the corner. Press G and snap it to the corner. Zoom to it. I'm in orthographic view right now. And we're gonna change the dimension for this piece of geometry so it fits lengthwise and height-wise. And we're gonna change it X 2200, and the Y, if you remember, we made it 300. The height of the mountain is gonna be 300, but we're gonna exaggerate, make it 800. And that's the 800. And Y is gonna be 0.002. So that's 2 millimeters. So 0.002. That's 2 millimeters. If you slice it in pieces of 2 millimeters, if the cut into the terrain is 2 millimeters, there is no way for a player to notice that there is a gap in the map. Well, hopefully, unless you play with Eagle Eye or whatever. That's also visible. If you pay attention, you will see that Rockstar also have gaps into the map. If you're really looking for them, you'll find them. So we will be centering. Let's actually center first. So Object, select the terrain. Object, set origin to mass volume, and then Object, apply all transforms. Actually, you should have started with that first, and then set origin to 3D cursor. Objects, transform. All right, now do the same with the plane that we just created. Select it, Object, apply all transforms, and then Object, set origin to mass volume. And then I'm gonna be using my toolbar. I don't know exactly where the fuck on those menus is, so I created my own toolbar. You can get my toolbar from my Discord just for free. It's a Python file. Go to tools, get it from there. It's free. Install it. Cursor to selection to cursor. Double snap to the center, and we'll do selection to cursor, and selection to cursor. We will move in this upward a little bit, and we will be booleaning the plane into the terrain into the plane. So select the terrain, add modifier, boolean, and in the list, let's duplicate this one first. So select the plane, press Shift D, and then R, and then Z. We'll duplicate it on the Z plane and rotate it 90 degrees. So hold control and move the mouse up and down, and it will snap in, I think it's 10 degrees increments or 5 degrees increments, but make sure it's 90 degrees from the other one. And move it up a little bit, and then go back to where you added the modifier on the terrain, boolean, and select one of the planes. The first one that doesn't have 001, select that one. It should appear as an object in here in the list, and then apply. Actually, solver and do it fast, and apply. If we move the plane out of the way and we select the terrain, enter edit mode, you will see that we have a gap in here, which is what's supposed to be. Turn off the auto merge vertices if you have it on. If you don't, keep it the way it is. You do not need to merge those. Then select, so move the other plane down like that. Select the terrain again, add modifier, boolean, and select the second one that just moved down. Oh, you fuck. Like that, and then fast, and apply. And then move it out of the way and check out what you've done. And hopefully everything cuts all the way through the mesh. And enter edit mode, select the terrain, press number 3 to select faces, select any face somewhere in here, and press Ctrl L. And as you can see, we have 4 different tiles of terrain. Select one face, Ctrl L to select everything that's linked, and press P and separate selection. You can call them east, west, south, north, however you want to process your terrain. Repeat with the other 3 tiles. P, selection, Ctrl L, P, selection. And last one, you don't have to separate it because it's already part of something. You can now repeat the process we do not need those planes anymore. And select the tile. You want to edit in here, press number 2, select the edge, delete edge. I don't know, I think I saw another one in here, right here. Delete edge. Alright, so let's center every single one of them and go to cursor origin center to mass, and mass. So you can call this terrain 1, 2, 3, 4. You can call it east, west, south, north, however you want to do it. But if you select, as you can see, if you select them one by one, every single one of them has less than 32,000 triangles. And will tell you, depending on which one you have selected, and will tell you how many triangles you have per geometry. And that's pretty much all there is to it on this tutorial. I hope you learn something new, and now you know how to create very large pieces of terrain and not struggle to do the roads. Again, you can play with the settings and make it a little not so wide. Play with the proportion a whole lot more, and add on top of what you already done in here. add more details, flatten areas to add buildings and all that stuff. Uh, but that's pretty much the approach using Blender. And I hope you had fun and you learned something else. Uh, See you on the next one. Bye.